immediate effects until it has damaged our tissues, internal tissues, then only it can be detected in later stages. So you will remember here, the chronic disease are long term, they have no immediate effects, and they damage our tissues, and they are very, very serious. They are very, very severe conditions. And now remains the congenital and acquired. Try to compare between these two diseases, you will remember better. Congenital disease are those diseases which are present in a person at the time of birth. They are present inside the womb of mother. And the acquired disease are then acquired after the birth, during the lifetime. They are not called as congenital acquired diseases because they are acquired after the birth, during the lifetime. Congenital diseases, abnormalities at birth. They are the genetic abnormalities, and these congenital diseases are passed from parents to offsprings. But the acquired diseases are not passed from the parents to the offsprings. That means these congenital diseases transfer through generations, but acquired disease does not transfer through generations. For example, here we can take the example of Down syndrome is a congenital disease where a woman gives birth to a deformed child. He has a mental retardation, he has deformities in other tissues of the body, he has a deformed body in general, and that is passed. If that person, if the Down syndrome person is gets married, he will give birth to a Down syndrome child. So these diseases, congenital diseases, are transferred from these parents to offsprings. The next example you will better understand here is of the albinism. Albinism is also the congenital disease. Acquired diseases are those diseases which are acquired by a person during the lifetime. They are not present at birth. They are further divided into two types of diseases: acquired diseases, and infectious diseases and non-infectious diseases. Infectious disease are communicable diseases, and non-infectious disease are non-communicable diseases. Communicable diseases, you may be knowing, that are those diseases that pass or transfer from a sick person, from a non-healthy person to a healthy person. That's called as infectious disease. The best example in these days is the COVID-19. COVID-19 is an infectious disease. Common cold is an infectious disease. Typhoid is an infectious disease that can be transferred from a non-healthy person, from a sick person, from an ill person to a healthy person. And then is the non-infectious disease, those diseases which are not communicable, which cannot be transferred from a sick person to a healthy person. For example, we can take here the example of cancer. Cancer is not transferred from a person, from a sick person to a healthy person. And now we have cited many times the example of cancer. Let me remind you that what cancer is. It is the uncontrolled growth and loss of adhesion capacity by cells of an organ. What does this mean? What does this cancer mean? I will shortly explain this. We will take up it in next lecture actually, but here came the example of cancer few times. So let me remind you that cancer is the uncontrolled growth uncontrolled growth of cells of a tissue. You know, our body has so many cells, millions, there are millions of cells. When the cell replicates, when the cell divides by mitosis, when the cell divides by mitosis, for example, it generally divides into two cells. But it has also a control mechanism. The cell, every cell in our body has a control mechanism which controls its division, which controls the division of cell. What happens in cancer? Cancer corrupts this control mechanism of our cells. It corrupts the control mechanism of our cells. In our body, if a cell is deformed, if a cell is not functioning properly, there Almighty has prepared a system of repair in our body. Whenever the cell is deformed or it is not functioning properly, this repair system comes here and it starts its work and it repairs the cell. Or there is a next system. There are other types of cells which eat these deformed cells, and our body has no effects of this. But what this cancer does, it corrupts the repair mechanism, it destroys the repair mechanism, it destroys the control mechanism of cell, and it destroys these phagocytes which eat the cells, actually the deformed cells. All cancer corrupts all these systems and leads to the uncontrolled division of cells. And this uncontrolled, when cells divide, proliferate highly, so there are huge numbers of cells than normal, and which results in the cancerous mass. There is much more in cancer to read, but here it was just an overview for you people to understand what actually the cancer is. It is the uncontrolled growth of cells, where our cells are corrupted, where the repair mechanisms, control mechanisms, replication mechanisms of our cells all are corrupted by the cancer, genes of cancer. So this was today's topic. So in the next lecture, we will go for some diseases, viral disease, bacterial, protozoan disease, helminthic disease, that we will see in the next chapter.